Hey everybody, and welcome back to another episode of How to Harad. And in this one, I hope to bring some sort of conclusion, or at least a sort of a soft pause to our war with Rohan. As you can see, we've done fairly well in the past few episodes, capturing some of the most important settlements of the Kingdom of Rohan. And now we are facing a battle between the Entwash River and the Anduin. Here we're going to capture potentially the settlement of Easthold. We have placed it under siege, and the enemy has sent a large army to attack us. We can see here that the balance of power is slightly in their favor. They outnumber us just a little bit, but I think the thing that's really tipping the balance is some of the units that they have to bear. Inside the settlement itself, we've got Keola of the East Mark. We can see his traits here. We can maybe see if he's a leader of any kind. He does not appear to be the heir or the king, but he is an expert commander, so he's got some very nice bonuses there, which will make him kind of a tough nut to crack. In units, he's got some Riders of the Mark, as well as, of course, the very intimidating Riders of the King's House, as well as some Tier 2 Rohan Riders. But the big army is the one we saw at the end of the last episode, with a unit of Helming S, very strong infantry, along with some Shields of the Mark and some Riders of the Mark, as well as some high-tier horse archers, and just a real mix of other things, both foot and horsed. So, we'll see how this battle goes. If we win it, there's a chance that we could capture the settlement defensively. Okay, so we do have some benefits of woods here. We're using wooded terrain. We've got a couple of units of spearmen up front. These are Spearmen of the Serpent hiding, a couple of units of Swords of Harad with fire at will ready to go, 3 units of archers, one of whom has spears as a backup weapon. Behind them, we've got our 2 family members. Now this guy right here is our newly come of age, or a new, I guess he was a new marriage offer at the end of the last episode. We do have some decent cav here, but of course so do they, and their cavalry is really their strength. We do have some horse archers, but so do they, and I think they've got more of them, and theirs are going to be better. In fact, we can get a look at these guys. These Riddermark bowmen are pretty solid. They've got swords as well as bows, of course, and they're mixed in with some Riddermark scouts, which are the lighter tier horse archers, but I just really like the sort of the more heavily armored look of the Riddermark bowmen. It's very cool. But they're going to be pretty effective. Now we're already shooting at them, so we're cutting down some of these Riddermark scouts. Very, very light. And if we get these Riddermark bowmen in our sights, we're probably going to give them the same treatment. Now the AI is marching all over the place. This is the captain of the larger army. They do not have a family member leading them, and this is a Riddermark scouts unit. On the one hand, that's good. It's a soft target. On the other hand, hard to catch, so we may not be killing the enemy captain all that soon. Reinforcements are coming from the settlement, which is way back there, and so here we've got the Riders of the King's House unit, as well as some tougher cav, but they're fanning out. They have a sense of where our strength is located. Looks like they're going to try to outflank with Riders of the Mark. So we have spearmen ready for that. We also have some swording skirmishers, so hopefully they will be able to do some damage against this cav. I may want to move some of these spears now, because I'm seeing that the enemy's infantry is sort of lining up in the center. And that's good. If their infantry goes against my swords, I'm pretty happy with that. We've got scary cavalry, we've got some scary infantry, and we should be able to cause enough fear, maybe, to get this captain-led force routing pretty quickly, as we are chewing through their horse archers. So that's great stuff. Now they do have some pretty strong infantry, though, that are going to be boosting their morale. These Helmingus, again, have that crown at the top, which is going to boost the morale of nearby units. Okay, here come the Riders of the Mark. Now they're going to do this kind of feint thing, where they come up to the line of scrimmage and then sort of come back and then go back and forth. On the one hand, that is very stressful as a human player to watch. On the other, it does give us lots of chances to shoot them, so that's kind of good. And it also gives us potentially the chance to, even catch them with our spearmen. But they're not doing that. They're going to try to get a good matchup with your cavalry. They're going to charge us. Nope. Okay. Let's move a little quickly here, guys. I don't want to go axes of the Mark against spearmen. We'll try to get their cavalry if we can. Okay, so some of their horse archers are now chasing ours. Our horse archers are a lost cause. We're just going to let them die, essentially. We're going to catch these Riders of the Mark, I think. That's totally fine. We can use our strong cav against the Axes of the Mark and potentially even their Riders of the Mark. Now, we've got lots of cav here, so let's start bringing it to bear. These are just Rohan spears. What are they even doing? All right, we'll turn around. Here we go. We've caught their Riders of the Mark. We're basically just holding in the center here. We do have some cavalry routing. Okay, fantastic. Bring everybody together and bring them back over here. Okay, great. Very good. We've chased off the Riders of the Mark. Helming us are in the middle. There's 42 of them. We're going to halt those Parchreb tribesmen. We'll bring this other cavalry back. Yep, they're routing. All right. Everybody back off if we can. Let's charge into the Helmingas. See if we can get them to rout. I hate these forest battles in a way because it is so difficult to see what's going on, but that is fantastic. Got this very elite unit routing already. Let's bring the spearmen back kind of roughly in the center. Bring the bodyguard back over. This is our new bodyguard. It's a Shields of the Mark unit he's going up against, and we're just dominating in the center against their cav. All right, let's go all in, raid at these Riders of the King's House. You know, I don't need these light cav to lead the charge, actually. I would like to go with the Mercenary Dragon Shield Riders. Oh, they've got some other cav here. Riders of the Mark charging in. Okay, this could be kind of bad for us. Let's get them around the side. Sure, we'll do that. We've got Scarlet Shields waiting here for something. I can't remember what. I think we got to get out of the woods, though. Literally, we need to get out of the woods. We're being surrounded here. And yeah, Serpent Black. Okay. What's that? That's good. That was the enemy commander. Okay, excellent. Okay, so now we can bring everybody back here, I think. We've got our light cav to chase down routers. And we're doing quite well. Let's get these Riddermark scouts if we can corner them. I'm not sure that we can, actually. Unless they will obligingly allow us to catch up. But we are running into a bit of trouble. Oh no, our Serpent Black, where is he? Okay, this could be bad. I do not want to lose this guy. He just came of age. And we may just lose him. I mean, he's routing. If he just routes off the field and they don't follow him, that's fine. He's gonna live. All right, everybody back here. This is where the enemy is now gathering. All right, what's this? All right, we're just chasing down these Rohan or Riddermark scouts. I think they're out of ammunition, though. Not too concerned about that. All right, we finally caught our spears up to these Riders of the Mark, which are doing a lot of damage to our archers and swords. See our sword units, 71 and 25, so not holding out too well, but the spears have not taken hardly any losses. Very, very good showing, as usual, by the Spearmen of the Serpent. Here we go, Riders of the Mark. I think if I had some light cav handy, I would love to chase them down. I don't know that I do, so we'll focus on killing the enemy here. Rohan Riders there, and the Riddermark Scouts there. We did not lose that general. He is still alive, the one that routed. Okay, Riddermark Scouts are still running away. Okay, so I think what we'll do, I'm just going to call the battle here. We'll come back. Basically, we get these guys on the run. It's just going to be a matter of running them down into the corner of the map and killing them. So we'll see you back on the campaign map. All right, and victory. It looks like we have captured Easthold. Public order looks pretty decent, actually. Got a blue face there already. And almost nobody here. The population is so low. There would be only 38 people killed or cast out. Let's do it anyway. Lay desolate, at least for that nice smoke cloud effect. And let's get our scout around. This is it for this sort of triangle of land. There shouldn't be anything else. And there's certainly no other settlements and no way of attack from the south of us. But if we head up north into the Wold, we can see Woldburg, Lathron, and there is a large-ish army. And it looks surprisingly good, actually. It looks like they had another army or so in them that they had sent east. But it's a mix of things. They've got some Dunland spearmen levies, and that's another way that we know that this army is from much sort of earlier in Rohan's campaign. We've got a couple of nobles here, And so, I'd rather not fight this army. So here's what I think we're going to try. We just took Easthold, but let's see if we can give it away. Let's go to Dunland. We'll get them here. They are our allies, of course, and they've been pretty good allies. We definitely took advantage of them because we do not have military access, but we just marched across their lands a little while ago. But we'll see if that really bothered them all that much. What we're going to do is give them Easthold. So here we go. There's that. And we will also give them a decent amount of cash. I think I'll go with 5,000. And we'll offer that as a gift. And they'll take it. Okay. Now, this may not totally solve our problems. What it does, though, potentially, is it creates a buffer between us and Rohan, at least here. It also means we don't have to defend against this army, at least for the moment. So we can bring this army back. Let's put it on the other side of Entwade here, just to keep it in the area. Actually, we'll bring it all the way over to Edoras, because I'd like to cross off a couple of other things before we completely end the war with Rohan. We want to get the Hold of Dunharrow, and we want to get Aldburg, and then we'll see how we decide to play with Calenhad. We may not need to actually take it. I may be happy leaving that there, or we may want to take it and gift it to Dunland. But given that Dunland is at the moment not at war with Rohan or the Reunited Kingdom, they may make a very good custodian of pretty much any of these places because they don't have a war. So in other words, Rohan would have to start a war if they wanted this back. Now, they could certainly do that. There is fortunately no sign of unrest here, so Dunland looks like if they don't screw up too badly, they should be able to hold on to it. But if not, it gives us a bit of time, because what we're doing right now in the Hornburg is attempting to build our first Dominion building in Rohan. This is the first one we've done, and it's going to take 8 seasons before it gets built up. But again, fortunately, the battle went well enough. We've got a couple of family members still instead of just one. Let's see if he got any bad traits. No, just rationing. He did not get wounded or anything like that. So no traits penalizing those couple of characters. Well, I half expected this to happen, and sure enough, Rohan has approached me with an offer of a ceasefire. Their low demands are only that we give them 82,800 Mirian and give back all of the settlements we captured from them. Now, we're not going to be doing that. I wouldn't mind maybe a few seasons of a ceasefire, though. How about, instead of giving back anything, we just go for a ceasefire and see if they'd be interested in that. Okay, they want a lot of money, so they're still interested. I would give them a little bit of cash, actually. I'm kind of okay with that. I can throw, like, let's go 6,000 at them, and we'll see what they do. Okay, they're going to go to 45 grand. All right, it's going to be like that. 10,000? 43,000. Well, of course, it occurs to me belatedly that we would give them money and then they would declare war on us immediately because they're allied with the Reunited Kingdom. So, of course, this is a foolish thing to even attempt. We'll just offer trade rights one last time to see if they'd be interested in that. And unfortunately, no. So we will have to decline their generous offer of peace. We're also greeted at the beginning of our turn here with a message about the fall of a new kingdom. And this is basically, we are getting the Peace with the Dead script. Basically, what we've had is, and faction has been eliminated. We'll click the Show Me How button, and that will basically wipe the diplomatic slate clean. So, let's see who that was. Dale and Dorwinian. So I'm guessing that Dorwinian has been eliminated. And now they're no longer allied with Dale. They're no longer at war with North Rune. So that's interesting. Let's take a quick look. We have done a bit of recruiting, however. Key on that list, Mumakil. So we're getting ready for that northern push. Let's take a look at the diplomacy, though, with Dorwinian out of the picture. Yeah. So North Rune was the only faction that was at war with Dorwinian, and they're at war also with Rovanian and with Dale. They're allied with Khand, Adunabar, and the Chiefdom of Rune. They'd probably make a decent ally for me, actually. If we can get a spy over there, we have one kind of close. Let's see if he can get close enough. Yeah, I can see the devastation here near the settlement of Rathwin. Okay, there's Arab Gobel, still in the hands of Rovanian, but yes, North Rune has actually taken Rathwin, which is, to me, it's a little unusual to see them expand this far. And they own Dorwinion itself. That is fascinating. I never see North Rune do well in a campaign. In fact, they're often kicked away. And it's all the more surprising given the fact that Dale has actually taken one of North Rune's starting settlements and maybe another one. We'll have to get closer and see how this is all shaping up. Well, with our east more or less secure in the hands of Dunland for the moment, we are free to besiege the hold of Dunharrow, which is, fittingly enough, the refuge of the current king of Rohan, Aldor King, who I believe is the second king that they have. I think he's the heir when the campaign begins. And of course, he's leading some riders of the king's house and then some Rohan spears. Out of this settlement, I believe, yeah, you can basically train either levies of Rohan or Rohan spears, either the cav or very basic infantry. So we'll see if this turns into a siege, like a sally or an assault, or if we just starve them out. Well, chalk this up to another instance of not exactly surprising. I was kind of wondering if and when this was going to happen. We have been betrayed by the Chiefdom of Dunland, so they took an opportunity to besiege the outpost of Dol Baran. Now, this certainly compromises our eastern border, but not too badly, actually. In fact, I think the odds are good that Rohan is not going to attack this, at least for quite a while, now that Dunland is picking up the slack and putting pressure on me. So Rohan's probably going to go into abeyance for a little while as a threat, while Dunland ramps up the threats, and this does give us a bit of a concern in the sense that we do need to now defend our northwestern border. Now, of course, if we lose the outpost of Dol Baran, that's not that big of a deal. We can hold out at the Hornburg for quite a while. We still have lots of troops in the area, but we do need to give some thought to this. Fortunately, I've had my eye on this settlement at least for a little while now, and this offers us the chance to take it. There are, I believe, some interesting units we can get out of Dunland's territory itself. So if we grab a settlement here, I think we should be in a pretty good position. But let's take a look at what this has also meant for our diplomacy. You'll notice we now have 0 allies. We lost a Dunabar as well, unfortunately. So when Dunland attacked us, as the AI often does, the AI sided with the attacking faction. If we had seen that and attacked Dunland first, the Dunabar would still be with us. It doesn't really matter too much. Again, we're not threatened at all by a Dunabar currently, and I don't want to start going to war with them. In fact, they're kind of a useful faction for me to keep afloat. They're very weak. They're here in Emin Arnin. They're not in a position to attack my protectorate. They're not really in a position to be much of a threat, but we can get an army up here, and that is what we have been doing over the past several turns. At Harngond, we have trained 4 units of Harandor Armsmen. We've got a couple of Spearmen of the Serpent to complement that as well. In we have 2 full units of Mumakil, and we're working on 4 units of Archers of Harad. And in Carenbad, we've got 6 full units of Scarlet Shields, a couple Horsemen of the Harnan, and in this region we also have our couple Men of Far Harad to sort of round out the numbers and give another sort of scary unit. So we're going to assemble all these. We've got some Partreb tribesmen on the way as well. In a few turns we'll have some more population for a 4th unit there. And we'll gather all of these units together and start marching north. Now we also want to keep up the training and get an amphibious assault, probably hitting Dol Amroth or maybe Linhir or Pelargir at about the same time as our main land force or forces head up into the Athelian region, and hopefully we'll catch the Reunited Kingdom in a favorable position. We probably want at least 2 stacks in this land force, because it's going to be a bit of a challenge. They've got some decent units in the area. If you take a look what they've been training, yes, you've got your typical mix of low-tier kingdom militia. You've got King's Swordsmen. You've got the Bowmen of Gondor. That's all pretty basic, expected stuff. But they're also taking the opportunity to train plenty of men-at-arms. We've got 4 units in this stack alone. If we look elsewhere, we can see some other high-tier units. They have some Longbowmen, some Lasarnak Axemen. I know I saw another couple of units of men-at-arms elsewhere, and so we'll just have to keep our eye on it. There's a couple there. They also have several family members. but they don't have that many big stacks. They got 2 or 3 stacks worth of units here, but I think the middle portion of their territory, or at least the coastal underbelly, if you will, is pretty undefended. And so if we get a naval force together, then we can probably surprise them with a bunch of Corsairs. Now, I am having to train a family member down here. We're training a unit of the Serpent Black that's going to be a general for us. I also want to take the opportunity to grab a couple of Umbar Guard. They get a nice battle standard inspiring nearby troops. Probably send them with the coastal assault. This the Serpent Black, depending on his stats, may lead the land force. But we want to get a bunch of Corsairs, swords, kind of second or third tier at best forces to hit the coast, because I think this will be a pretty soft target. It'll certainly confuse the AI, and what we kind of want to do is get them sort of not sure where to go. So maybe this will be the first hammer blow, draw off some of the armies back this way, and then we can move our big army up into the Ithilien region to take out 1 or 2 of these nice targets. But before we turn our attention to Gondor, we do have to deal with this situation with Dunland. And our main army in Rohan is kind of tied up at the moment, besieging the hold of Dunharrow, so I think we need to resolve this a little faster than I was expecting. So we'll go ahead and assault this settlement. Now, this is going to be an extremely straightforward fort battle. They don't have any infantry, so all of these units will be inside the confines of the fort. I think you know how this is going to go. We'll get some guys up on the walls, shoot down at them, capture all the towers, and then, if needed, send people in, but I don't think that'll be necessary. So I'll see you back when this is under our control, most likely. Very good. Okay, Dunharrow is in our possession. I think we lost a single man due to some crossfire from the fort's towers, but really it's a kind of a cakewalk. But we now have this at 70% public order. Now, the population is so low that this is not something that we'll need to keep garrisoned, but we'll see. I think part of the public order benefit we're getting is from our governor, Muiz of near Harad West. There is another family member here, though, so we could leave one of them in for that authority bonus that we're seeing here, and then take the other one out as well as a bunch of the men. The question is, where do we want to move them? We've removed this threat to the south of Edoras, which is very nice. It opens up a little bit of trade income, too. But, you know, the threat over here is fairly small. And then once they capture Dol Baran, they'll have to take Hornburg next, which is pretty well defended. So as long as we have some troops there, as long as we can kind of keep this going while we get this built up, 4 more seasons for Outland Dominion in the Hornburg, then we can be pretty confident about holding that off against even a fairly large army of Dunland. What I'm more worried about, in a way, is Rohan. They've got some decent forces in Aldburg. We are still at war, and although I'm no longer concerned about them coming down from the northeast, I am a little bit concerned about this. They've got Oldburg as well as Calenhad, and I'd like to reduce them to just this province. Calenhad, by the way, is not a Rohirrim settlement, at least as the game begins. This is a Dunedainic settlement in terms of its culture, so Rohan is not going to be getting their best units out of here. Aldburg, though, is one of their absolute core settlements. It's one of the big 3, really, in terms of where they can train the best troops, and it's very well built up. So no doubt there are some good troops that could be trained out of here. We do see some Riders of the Mark, Riddermark Spears, and maybe we will see more stuff. So I think what I want to do, actually, is see what we can get away with here in terms of public order, and see if we can eliminate this. But that doesn't mean we can leave Dunland forever. I have done, between turns here, a little bit of experimenting with bribes, and it turns out we were able to get rid of one of the stacks that was outside Dol Baran. It was small, and it cost us a pretty penny, but let's see if we can do the same thing with this Dunlanding host. They've got some decent stuff, Axes of the Wolf, as well as some Tier 2 units. So let's see if we can bribe them. I'm not sure if it'll be possible to do. We don't get any of these units if this is successful. They just disband. And 59 grand. Well, we've got almost 500,000. So, you know what? Sure. There we go. We basically just saved ourselves from having to worry about that siege. Now, of course, Dunland can get its act together and send more troops down in the area. In fact, let's get our spy over here and see if we can get a sense for what they have. Okay, they've got some decent forces in Dunkreok. Looks not too many, actually. But they do have some other forces gathering in the region. They could assemble these pretty quickly into a full stack. So we won't be able to rely on bribery forever. But let's get these forces together and see if we can make a quick push against Ardberg. Okay, after shuffling some troops around between Edoras and Dunharrow, we've got a governor inside here. We've got some plainsmen skirmishers. These settlements are both at 70% public order, so just that line of rebellion, but close enough to prevent it. And we found that we can also get rid of a few troops in Entwaid. We have some desert skirmishers around to garrison, but we can take these Partreb tribesmen and Swords of Harad out. So let's go ahead, put our army right here and put Ardberg under siege. We'll build some stuff, the usual, and then we'll move down these troops to help out. We've got a full stack now, at least nominally full, and hopefully we'll be able to take this before we lose at least very much ground in the west. Well, okay, so Dunland did decide to go for it outside of Entwaid. I was kind of wondering. We only have 77 skirmishers here holding them back. Now, they only have some peasants at arms. These guys, though, do have a missile attack, I'm noticing, which is pretty powerful. And does make them much more of a threat than I had been hoping. But this is all they have in the region, at least for now. So we should be able to hold out against it. They're still working on their pacification and dominion buildings. So if we can just keep things held off, and in fact, you know what? We can even do this with bribery if I have another emissary in the region. Let's move him over. I'm not sure if we can get there this season. Let's see if we can do a bribe. Oh yeah, very, very cheap. Only 6,500 Mirian. There we go. No longer need to worry about Entwaid. So we'll just keep doing that for as long as possible. We're still over 400,000, and we're still projected, even with that bribe, to make over 14,000 this turn. Let's take a look at our news, though, because we do have, apart from that siege, some other things. We've got, of course, our last season's report, in which we did lose quite a bit of cash. No doubt those bribes over here. And we lost an emissary in Adabara. Let's go ahead and queue up another one just to keep them proof against the odd bribery attempt. We did finish some building. Okay, yep, we got some control posts going just for some token military along the coast of Gondor and an execution square in Akarn. But more importantly, we did get our recruitment finished for the turn. So let's take a look at who we have in the new settlement. So this is the governor, and he's fantastic. Definitely like this guy. He's got some great traits. But this is the new family member that we built, basically, the Serpent Black unit. And he's not too great. He's a poor governor, poor commander, but honestly, that could be much worse. He's a man of the desert, which is going to give him extra movement points. Very, very good in an invading army. Otherwise, no real downfalls when it comes to being a commander, so I'll take it. He's a minor house, but that's just totally fine. Follower of Darkness and youthful, which of course is good. I would hope he would be youthful as a newly trained unit. Otherwise, fairly uninspiring, although he is staunch, so that's very nice in terms of his loyalty to the family member. Reckless fighter is very bad, so we'll want to keep him out of the thick of it. Unwise and indifferent leader, but well supplied. Okay, we need a head, right? We just need someone to lead. So I think I want to start the land assault. We'll get him going up here. He'll get all of these units, the Mumikil, all these other guys under his wing, and then we'll head them north. We'll keep training other units. I've queued up some other basic stuff along the coast. We've got Swords of Harad. We've even got some footmen just for garrison duties. More swords at Umbar, and then at the settlement, the former capital Umbar itself, we've got Umbar Guard queuing up. So that'll take a little while. We've got well, actually, these just take a single turn to train, so that'll only take a couple of seasons, and then we'll queue up another Serpent Black just for that. So another couple of turns have passed, and we have another family member to lead the coastal expedition. This is the guy who's going to be taking the black ships just across the water into Gondor along the coasts, and this is looking more like it. An adept governor, an expert commander. So he's got some good traits already. He's a city dweller, which he's only getting the negative effects of that, unfortunately, which is decreased public order. But he at least is youthful, he is intelligent and charismatic, steadfast, a careless fighter, but not as bad as it could be. But we'll take it. Again, this is going to be really useful just to have another governor or just general family member to lead the troops. So we'll take him out, and we do have a few other units that we've been training in the area. We'll just stack them all together and then send them on a fleet north. Speaking of sending units north, we have the armies of Central Harad about to meet up under Yazid of Umbar, and this is the army that we have currently. Now, we are going to mix this up a little bit because we've got some troops up here at Harad, and so we're going to want to substitute some of these units in. Like, I probably don't need the Horsemen of the Harned. Well, maybe I could even get rid of a couple Scarlet Shields or one of these units, and we'll just sort of mix things up. But we'll leave them here for now. No sense in spending a turn on my Protectorate's territory. Even though I highly doubt they would break the Protectorate just to attack me, I'm not going to risk it. I'm going to go and we can make a single march in a single turn and get in and through their territory up to Harad, and then we'll send this army north. Further north, though, we've been able to stave off Dunland just through bribery. They have not besieged Dol Baran again, and although they did try besieging Entwaid again, we were able to bribe them again for about 6,000 Mirian. And so given that things have been pretty quiet here, we've adopted a wait-and-see approach with regard to Aldburg. This is their capital, so there's no getting this through diplomacy, unfortunately. But we can at least whittle down these numbers, because in a city fight, while their cavalry is not going to be as effective as it could be, it's still very strong and very solid in melee. And they do have 4 units of these Axes of the Mark to sort of watch the walls. Against that, our own troops, as you can see, are mostly for fighting out in the open. We've got a lot of cav, we've got some archers. Not a lot of these guys are really equipped to go over the walls. So I'm going to hold out until this place is just about to fall, and maybe we'll assault, maybe we'll just let it starve, or more likely repel the sally. But also Hornburg, very importantly, has finished its Outland Dominion building, meaning we can actually build some of these units and have them take effect. Now, we're not going to get anything fantastic. These are just basic spear carriers. But we definitely want to get going on the control posts here just to have something that we can train in the region. And as we've seen, the Hornburg is a very strong settlement. So any army coming out of Dunland, if they manage to take Dol Baran and then move on, if we have just some nominal force on the walls, I think we'll be able to hold out. So that's what we're going to do up here. And as the turn kicks back over to us, I see that while we did lose a scout due to old age over in East Khand, nothing too concerning over there, we did see coming of age, Faraji the Tall. That bodes fairly well, as he has a good trait associated with his height. That can be very important. He does not look too inspiring, though, from these other traits. He's over in Akarn, also not really where we need people right now, but he is at least a man of the desert with some good traits there. Tribe of the Red Spear. He's shadow-touched, interestingly. Lazy, unintelligent, but charismatic, and commanding stature gives him some extra hit points. So that at least counteracts the loss of hit points from him being overbold. I think we'll take him out of here. We don't really need anybody in this region, so we'll just move him to the west, and the idea is he will eventually be able to join forces and lead another army, or at least support in some capacity. And I was wondering about this, because I got an announcement that that we retrained some units in Caranbad. Now, this will happen if you have it set to auto-manage, but I was wondering what retrained. Well, I had just queued up a few turns ago the Iron Foundry Specialization Building in Caranbad. So this is a building that you can train, I believe, anywhere. And originally it was intended, of course, to be only available in settlements with the iron resource. But as you can tell, Caranbad does not have iron. Caranbad only has horses. So if we take a look at the description, the second paragraph says, in places where iron is plentiful, the skill of the smiths reaches its apex. And so basically this is saying you're going to get some of that armor upgrade available. However, yes, in provinces that lack significant iron deposits, the foundry workers are still tasked with improving armor, but they are more liable to turn their skills toward commonplace metal items, such as tools, which can then be used in trade. So this is trying to convey And probably I could have done a better job in conveying this more clearly. But what I was trying to get at, I imagine, was that yes, even though you don't have iron, it still benefits your armor somewhat, but you're also going to get a bit of a trade bonus. I imagine that if you actually had iron where you built your iron foundry, that maybe the armor bonus would be better, and you wouldn't get so much of a trade boost. Not totally sure exactly how that worked, but again, that's on me on writing the descriptions. I know that one good move for Harad that actually Webba recommended this to me, but I've never do it because I always just play thematically rather than effectively. But one thing you could do, Umbar starts off with a Corsair stronghold here. A good move, or one effective move, could be to destroy this and then immediately build an iron foundry, because you do have some iron in Umbar City, or at least in this region. So you could take even more advantage of that specialization building and just build a Corsair stronghold somewhere else, like An Umbar. Well, I definitely plan to build a Corsair stronghold here, and I am working towards that. We may as well queue that up, actually. Yeah, let's go ahead for major province there. But I like to have one at the beginning of the game because Corsair units are fun to play with. The ships are really important. And so, especially where I haven't had the opportunity to build a second one, I don't want to get rid of that original one. And we really do need the ships because you can take a look here. The Reunited Kingdom is going all out in training Palorans and Numeramars, so a good mix of ships, and they're just stacking them here. We've got a half stack of Marauders, so I think we'd be okay if they tried to burst out. But of course my big fear is that they'll get a big army on this, and all they've got is 3 swordsmen right now. But if they land a big army and try to bust out of the blockade, that could really wreak havoc. But so far, we've seen no moves by the AI to do that. But let's get this army into our own territory here. And since we're allies, we don't need to worry about zone of control, although that, was potentially a risky situation there that we just walked through. But we'll just move them on up to Harad. And here we can shuffle units around and see what is actually going to consist of our stack that is heading north. I observed over the past turn or so that the Reunited Kingdom had tried and yet again failed to take Emin Arnin. This is good news, although it would be nice to get this for myself at some point. I'm more interested in keeping the Reunited Kingdom kind of weak at the moment. So glad they didn't manage to take that. All right, and I think we have our army assembled outside of Harad. So this is what I went with. We've got, of course, Yazid of Umbar, our poor governor, poor commander, but that's fine. He's going to get some field experience here. And he's going to be leading our couple units of Mumikil. We've got 4 archers of Harad, fire arrow capable, long-range missiles, a good sort of hybrid unit. We also have 4 units of Scarlet Shields, and I did bring the 2 units of Men of Harad, just kind of for fun, but for some extra, I don't know, fear impact. We've also got 4 units of Harandor Armsmen, very, very nice, solid unit to go against those men-at-arms, and a couple of Spearmen of the Serpent just to sort of work against the enemy cavalry. But we've also got our own cav to counter their cav, so I think we'll be in a pretty good position with regards to that. So we'll start them on their journey north. Again, we don't want to necessarily get right on Harandor's territory, but next season we'll be getting into Adunabars. Now, we're no longer allied with them, so theoretically they may attack us, but I think they'll probably have bigger fish to fry. I guess what we could do, since they decided to stay allied with Adunabar, is just take this for ourselves. But rather than weakening ourselves against an already weak foe, I think it makes sense to conserve our strength for the big clashes against the Reunited Kingdom. So, folks, I think this is a pretty good place for us to end the episode. In the next one, I promise we're going to see some battles between us and the Reunited Kingdom. Maybe we'll capture Minas Honor, maybe we'll just have to see what happens in terms of the opportunities that present themselves around Osgiliath. And as for further west, our diplomats have been doing great work. It looks like Dunland seems to have given up. They just don't want to be bothered having their armies bribed repeatedly, and so we're holding steady in Rohan. Pretty soon our armies theoretically could be able to meet up with one another and then capture the coastal settlements of Gondor while our army assembles to the south. So thanks very much for joining me for this episode of How to Harad. I hope you'll stick around for the next one. Until then, everybody, take care.